Yes, I'm glad like the landscape is working now. Thank God. Hey people. Of course, Onyx gonna come on Scratch and Post like as soon as I start the video. Of course. All right, y'all. Let me see who's in here. Hello, hello, everybody. Everybody. I got my okay. Let me just take my bonnet off. I took a nap just a while ago, and so I quickly threw my bonnet on. But let me just take it off real quick. Show the things. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time waiting on everyone to join the chat. I kind of want to just get right into it. Hello, hello, hello. So for those of you who are here, as you see by the title, we are here to talk about intuition on today. All right. I've been feeling like this is a topic that needs to be addressed. Especially, we have our little full moon and Scorpio vibes happening, so it's definitely the time to tap into your intuition, tap into your shadow as well. But also, I just noticed that a lot of the times people ask me questions, and I can see that there's like a disconnect between you and your inner guidance, your inner voice, because people tend to ask me for confirmation of what they're already thinking, what they're already feeling, when it's like, you know the answer. You just need to trust yourself. So I want to talk about that with y'all today. Okay, so feel free to chime in the chat. Okay, share your experiences with your intuition, how you got in tune with yourself, as I share my own perspectives on the things. Okay, let's see. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, y'all. Okay, so hi, I'm newly subscribed to your channel. Hello, new subbies in the building. That's for the new subbies in the live chat and for the new subbies who will be watching the playback. Okay, hello to everyone. I love to see y'all here. All right, so first step to following your intuition is get locks. Okay, I just felt like I need to say that. I know a lot of y'all want to lock your hair and have had that constant thought process come up over and over, and you seem to resist that. So I'm here as the personification of your inner voice, coming to you live and direct to confirm that if you've been having that feeling, it's because your intuition is guiding you to it, and maybe you need to listen up. Okay, so get locks, or at least make a plan for getting locks in the future. Okay, so step one, if you have locks already, shouts to you, you've already started the things. Okay. But yeah, all right, so before I even get into it, let's talk about what is your intuition even. What is that, right? Like, I refer to it as my inner guidance. Some people call it your inner voice, your gut feeling, right? Even the fact that it's called your gut feeling is because, as we know, a lot of us know that your gut carries information to your brain, right? Like, I believe it's 100 million brain cells exists within your gut. And there's a reason for that. It's because your gut feels what's going on around you. It receives the information just as your heart receives the information, and then it sends that to your brain for processing, right? So you feel everything first. But unfortunately, in this society, we're conditioned to suppress your initial feeling, your first reaction. You suppress it because it might be inconvenient. It might steer you away from the status quo. It might lead you down a path that's not conventional. And so you go through life constantly silencing your inner voice, your inner guidance. The things that you already know, you silence it. And then you go through life and you become detached and disconnected. And it's easier for you to be manipulated or taken advantage of out here because you're not connected to yourself. You're not in your body. You're not hearing the messages. But at the end of the day, we have been configured, we have been designed with all of the tools within ourselves. We've been blessed with that gift, right? But we move through the world and we're told that we can't trust ourselves. We have to trust what other people tell us. We have to rely on entities and forces outside of ourselves when you are, you're everything. You're everything in one. And therefore you must consult with yourself first, right? That's my intention for this channel, is to remind everyone of their innate gifts, what is true to them, what you already have, connecting back to the truth that is you, connecting back to source, connecting back to your intuition, so that you no longer have to rely on somebody else to tell you, you know, because you have that, you've checked with yourself first. Okay? So yes, wait, hold on. I had the calling to get locks for a while, and then finally went and started my locks in August. 9 months locked tomorrow. Shouts to you. Is your soul and intuition similar? Yes, like your intuition is your soul communicating with itself. Like your soul is your life force, it's your spirit, it's the reason that you are alive. Your body is what's encasing your soul, right? And then your intuition is like your communications board. It's communicating, it's your soul receiving the information and communicating it back to your physical self, so that you can make sense of what's going on around you, so you can decide what you need to do next, how to move in this world. So it's intertwined, right? Okay. As an something, my personality type. My intuition is something I've never suppressed. That's good. That's very good. All right. And this is my second lock journey. Shouts to y'all with the multiple lock journeys. Y'all are, that is amazing to me. All right, so aside from getting locks, okay, check, boom, got that. First things first is to learn to get comfortable with silence and solitude, right? This is the realm where you hear things like meditation come up. I'm not going to say that that's what you need to do, but in essence, the practice of being still, hearing the silence, that's where your intuition breeds, right? That's the playground for your intuition. A lot of people are uncomfortable with silences. They try to fill the space with sound and noise or being distracted with something else. But in the silence is where you get the information that you're looking for. It's where you get that clarity. If you ever notice, sometimes you can just be sitting down, being still, being quiet, or being focused on a task, and something will come to your mind, right? A thought, a feeling will come to your mind. That is an intuitive message coming to you. And you can either listen to it, or you sometimes will try to distract yourself from it or push it away or not give it any energy. And then it comes up again in another format, right? Because the one thing about your intuition is if you don't listen to yourself in the initial feeling that you get, that gut feeling, that instinctual feeling, if you ignore it, it will come up in another format, whether it be in your dreams, whether it be by way of circumstance. Certain experiences might become really aggressive and in your face because you were ignoring the feeling that came to you initially, right? One thing that I've learned is your first reaction is usually the one that's the most informed, because that's literally you responding to the energy that your intuition has picked up on, is your first reaction. But a lot of the times we put that to the side and we go with our second and third reaction, right? We try to rationalize it or make sense of it or make it fit into a certain category, a certain box. Have you ever noticed in those moments where you get a initial thought and you go against it, and then you notice that a lot of fuckery takes place after that, versus when you follow your first mind, your first thought, it usually gives you, like, it leads you down a path that's more, it makes more sense. For example, the other day I went to brunch, right? When I woke up that day, I already felt within myself, my body was telling me, just stay home, rest. Today isn't the day for brunch. I went anyway, and what happens? Mad traffic to get there, okay? We get to the spot, the food was mediocre, okay? Mad money was spent, right? There are like different inconveniences that came up along the way. And I was just sitting there like, yo, if I would have just stayed my ass at home, like I already knew that I wanted to do, I already felt that message initially in the beginning of the day, if I would have just did that. But instead, I decided to go with what the group was telling, what the group was saying, and that led to just a chain of events that just we did not need to go through, right? Or if you ever been in a situation where you feel off about someone or a place that you're in, it just feels unsettling to your stomach. You don't necessarily know what it is, you just know it doesn't feel good, right? But then you proceed anyway. Pay attention to what happens after the feelings that you have, right? So let's say you feel good about something, pay attention to what takes place after that. If you feel uneasy about something, pay attention to what takes place after that. Your feeling, your internal guidance is letting you know that something is up, is bringing heightened awareness to a situation. It's kind of like if you have a wound and it's bleeding or something and you're not aware of it, and your intuition is like, look, pay attention to this. You need to put your attention to this right now. Heal this, address this right now. It's urgent. That's how your intuition works. It's an urgent message. And if you don't pay attention, if you don't take heed, you're bound to have a more extreme situation come into your experience. We've seen that happen sometimes with relationships where you might, what they call red flags. A lot of the times it's your intuition reacting to something in their energy. And you're just like, but damn, I really like this person. So fuck all of that. And you keep dealing with the person even though you have these alerts. Your alert system is like, hell no, girl, stay away. And then what happens? Some fuckery. Because you didn't listen to yourself. Right? So really what I want to encourage us to do here is learn how to hear yourself, like your inner voice. Learn how to hear it. Learn how to actually give energy to it instead of repressing it. You know how people say kids are to be seen and not heard? And you end up internalizing that message and you treat yourself that way? We're going to stop doing that now. Now it's time for you to hear yourself. See and hear yourself. Receive the messages that you're drawing into yourself and act accordingly. And sometimes it's inconvenient. Sometimes it takes you away from something that you thought that you wanted. Sometimes it leads you down a path that you don't really know what's going to happen next, but you needed to go down that path. Right? Okay, so hold up. Let me see what you're like. Meditating, yes. Fasting, yes. That is another one. Sorry, that's Onyx. Yeah, fasting is another. Speaking of fasting, that really connects to diet in general, like being mindful of the things that you ingest, whether it's food, the kind of conversations that you're having, the kind of entertainment that you're bringing into yourself, the places that you go, the vices that you partake in. Be mindful of what you're putting into your body, because circling back, your intuition is your gut. Your gut is processing information down to the food that you take into your body. So if the energy of the food that you're eating, let's say it feels really heavy and your gut starts to feel really weighted down, that's like a direct correlation to your intuitive body is feeling heavy and clouded and weighted down. So that might mean you need to detox. You need to release some energy, clear out some energy so that you can receive more, right? It all starts with your gut. You might eat something spicy. Let's say like a simple example. You have something spicy and now it's bubbling up. You're like, okay. That's your intuition connecting to your brain and letting your brain know, don't eat that. Don't eat that again. At least not without some water, you know? You're receiving information every time that you process a feeling. So let yourself process those feelings. And sometimes it'll be uncomfortable as fuck. And you're like, damn, like, I wanted this to work. I wanted to like something, but it isn't for you in this moment. And so you have to take heed, because if you don't, it'll show up in another way. Your intuition responds to you in patterns, right? So it might repeat itself over and over. You might get a thought that comes to you repetitively. Listen to it. And if you aren't prepared to act on it, write it down. Take a mental note with yourself and be like, I keep having this thought. Why? That's a way for you to like sift out your intuition. Why am I feeling this way over and over? Dive into that. Because maybe it's not something that you need to act on. Maybe it's something that you need to just bring your attention to and really think on a little bit longer. You know? Sometimes it's hard for people to distinguish the difference between your intuition, your inner guidance, and maybe your ego, right? And your ego is more so comprised of stories that you tell yourself or prior experiences, or it's more like your security guard, your defense mechanism to protect you in this world. Is your bodyguard, right? And your intuition is more so opening you up to all of the vibrations around you, all of the experiences that you're coming into. So what you want to do is learn the difference, but it's like, how do you do that, right? So what I like to do is I'm a journaler. I like to journal. So if I have a thought that keeps coming up to me and it's like, it's drastically different from what I'm already doing, so I have resistance around it, I'll write it down. And whatever comes to my mind, I write that down on the paper, you know? Whatever comes up in your head, write it and read it back to yourself. How does that feel in your body, right? What is that essence that you're feeling? Give it a name. So let's say you're feeling a lot of butterflies. Give it a name. I'm feeling anxious about this thing. Okay, if something like this is making me feel anxious, maybe that means I need to stay away from it, or maybe I need to take another route. You know what I mean? Versus if you go around somebody or a situation and it feels good to your soul, it feels fulfilling and bright and expansive, you're like, okay, every time I'm in this space feeling this feeling, these things happen. Does that make sense? Let me come back to the chat. Oh, oh, love y'all too. Oh, you're so sweet. Let me see. I like to have a pen and paper near me when a thought comes up so I don't forget. And sometimes you might not have a pen and paper, right? But you have your phone, right? Right up in the notes app. I had this feeling today. Let me revisit that. Let me convene with myself later. Another thing that I do, which it might seem weird to people, is talk to yourself. Like, ask yourself the questions and listen to the answers. Because that voice that's speaking is you. That voice that's speaking is your spirit. It is your ancestors. It is your God, whatever you want to call it. It is a part of you, and you are receiving that message for a reason. So listen to it. Run things by yourself. When I say run it by you first. Check with you first before you check with somebody else. Let me give an example. I used to be in a relationship with someone who was being unfaithful. The ghetto, okay? But at the end of that experience, I realized I couldn't put it entirely on him and what he was doing, because prior to me even finding out the confirmation, I was getting messages, I was feeling things, and then I was trying to ignore it because I was like, I really, really want to be in this relationship. I love this connection. I want to hold on to it. So I stayed despite the discord it was causing within myself. And you know what ended up happening? The shorty reached out to me directly. So it's like the universe is like, sis, we are telling you what's going on. You are feeling it. You are having visions. You're having dreams about it. But you still don't want to receive that information. So we're going to give it to you this way. Maybe you will hear it that way. Oh, you didn't hear it from her? Okay, we're going to present it to you through this. You know, it just comes to you regardless. So it's like you get to decide, am I going to listen to it for myself, or am I going to let it come to me by way of an aggressive situation? Do I need to be pressed into listening to my intuition? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't fully trust yourself enough, so you need it to come to you out externally. What I used to do was I would have a feeling that something was up, and I would run it by him first. I'd be like, yo, I've been feeling this way. Are you up to XYZ? And of course the nigga would lie. But it's like, now I'm being told something that contradicts with what I'm feeling. And that's something that happens to a lot of people a lot of the times, right? And now you start to lose trust in yourself because what you thought was going on is being contradicted by what someone else is saying to you. And this is why I say it's important to learn the connection of your intuition, because it's your intuition isn't going to lie to you. It might not tell you something pleasant. It might piss you the fuck off, the truth of what you're receiving, but it is information that you need to be processing and understanding why you're receiving that. Okay? Okay, let me see what else was in here. I saw a few comments. And meat will cloud your intuition, go vegan. I don't tell people what to eat. I've learned that's not something that I'm comfortable speaking on, especially because I eat all types of shit except for pork. No. But it's true, like I was saying earlier, as far as if the food that you're eating, it feels heavy in your body, it's something really intense or complex for your body to break down, for your gut to break it down. That is a physical manifestation of your intuition, how it's working. You're taking in all of this heavy energy and you're not able to break it down and process it fast enough. You're not able to digest it. So you want to consume things that are easier on your body to digest, easier to fuel your body, so that your spirit, your mind, everything is clear and is able to operate more efficiently. That's the ideal. Because otherwise you end up in a situation where now, all right, the pandemic, for example, right? The whole year 2020 has taught people the practice of detaching from their intuition and relying on external validation or external rescuing, right? When at the end of the day, you have the tools in yourself to regulate your immune system. That's the whole fucking point. Oh shit. That's the whole fucking point of your immune system, is to regulate and to guard your body, defend your body. It's there already. But we've been convinced time and time again that your body doesn't know what to do. The government does. You know what I'm saying? And then you go through life long enough thinking that way, and you start to detach from what you already know, what you already have within yourself. And do you really want to be in a position where somebody else has to tell you how you need to move? Do you really want to expose yourself to that kind of influence? Okay. Let me see. Cheated on you, bull drawing. Yo, yes. But honestly, even with the whole being cheated on thing, circling back to the intuition, there are moments in that relationship where I had a feeling to speak on something, for example. Like something was unsettling to me. But instead of speaking on it, I would hold it in, I would repress it. And that's an example of how we sabotage ourselves, is we don't listen to ourselves, even though we're guiding ourselves all the time, but if you listen or not is the difference, So I would ignore certain feelings that I was having for the sake of keeping the connection. How many people can relate to that? And it created space and opportunity for him to move how he was moving. Because if I were to, let's say I were to speak on something or act on something in that moment, I'm closing that door of opportunity now, versus holding it in, ignoring it, repressing it, and now that other person is able to frolic around in my peace of mind however they choose. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we agree to certain kinds of mistreatment or ratchet situations, all because we choose not to address it. We choose not to speak on it because it's too uncomfortable to deal with. But would you rather be uncomfortable from your intuition and making a decision from that place, or would you rather be uncomfortable because something just ran up on you? Pick your battles. That's how that goes. Okay. All right, talking to yourself is so healthy. Yeah. You know how many times I had to run something by myself first? Like, And sometimes even just saying it out loud, giving a voice to the feeling that you're having. Like, yo, I'm feeling away right now. That's like a thing that people say. I'm feeling away. What is that way that I'm feeling? Is it good or bad? Okay, I'm feeling bad. Why am I feeling bad right now? Well, as soon as I stepped into this room, I started to feel bad. Okay, what is it about this room? You start to process the information more accurately. Because at the end of the day, every second your brain is receiving like 11 million bits of information every fucking second. So you can't necessarily rely entirely on your brain. You know how they say your mind be playing tricks on you? That's what they be talking about. It's taking in so much information at a time that you can't solely rely on your brain's ability to process everything. You have to also rely on your body's ability to feel the things and tune into the things. It all works together. Your gut, your heart, your brain, all together. You can't just stay up here. You can't just stay here. And you can't just stay in the gut. It all works together. And when it comes to tuning to the frequency, I like to think of it like like a radio. Like, if I want to hear hip hop, I have to tune to that station, right? If I want to hear my internal guidance, I have to tune to that station. Tune into that station looks like being still, receiving, meditating on it, paying attention to the impulses that I feel. Sometimes you gotta act on the impulse instead of sitting with it for too long. It's like your instincts. We move in a way that we don't necessarily act on our instincts. We put it secondary to ourselves. But your instincts is the first thing. It's your first line of defense. So how that makes sense? How are we gonna go through life ignoring our instincts when your instincts are literally here to protect you and guide you? You ever seen Apocalypto? Matter of fact, that's homework if you haven't, or if you've forgotten. Go and watch Apocalypto again, because that's like the perfect encapsulation of what it looks like to tune into your intuition, right? He's going through all kind of crazy shit, but there are different moments in his journey where he felt something was up, and instead of acting on that, he kind of just, tried to keep it cool with everybody. He's like, let me just keep it cool. And then what? Now niggas is running up on you. Right? And then the whole movie is him getting back to his intuition, tuning into everything that is in and around him so he can find the solution. Where can you watch it? The last time I watched it, it was on Amazon Prime. I think I also saw it was on YouTube. For each of them, you had to rent it though, not gonna lie. Unless you're able to get on one of them sites. But when I rented it, it was like $3. I think if it's on Netflix, bitch, I need to go see if it's on Netflix. That would be great. But go watch Apocalypto just for a visual representation of what it looks like to use your intuition intentionally to feel things and connect. It's kind of like in the movie Avatar, for example, how the avatars, like they're here, can connect to the plants and connect to the animals. That's like an example of you being the tool that can connect to everything that is around you. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let's see. I'm learning to sit in my discomfort because there's a lesson in there. Yeah, absolutely. The discomfort, you see, one thing about discomfort is it's inevitable. It's a part of every facet of your journey. So really the work becomes learning to find comfort in the discomfort, which is really learning to appreciate the contradiction, learning to appreciate the discord, because you're feeling it for a reason. It's drawing your attention to something that needs your immediate attention right now before everything else. For example, one feeling I've been having lately, which I mentioned in my last live, is something about this job that I have is not resonating with my spirit. And what ends up happening, I go into work and I face some kind of bullshit. Like today, I was told I have on, okay, look. This is my shorts today, right? This is my outfit today. I was told my shorts were breaking dress code. Okay? And I'm at work like, yo, what the fuck am I doing here, bruh? Like, that's not me. Working in a place where wearing some goddamn cargo pants is too revealing, that clearly is not my vibe. And yet I'm working there just to show an example of I had an intuitive feeling before I even took the job that something about this place wasn't it, but I needed a job at the time. And now what happens? Every day I'm reminded in some shape or form why I had that initial feeling. And so now it's becoming heightened. It's even more like, girl, get the fuck up out of here. It's becoming more pressing, the thought process. And so now I'm working on an exit strategy. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's how that's going. All right, yeah, follow your vibe. Energy doesn't lie. That's a fact. This video is much needed for me right now. The universe is using you in this moment. I'm so glad because I kept having the feeling like you need to talk about intuition to your audience. Like, you need to have this conversation because it connects to literally everything that you do. It informs all of your decisions, or ideally your intuition will inform your decisions. And really what you want to do is get to a place where you're not questioning yourself. You're not shaky about it. You're certain. You're clear. As soon as you feel it, you know what's up. And you know, it ties into just how society operates. And intuition is like a feminine trait as far as the energy is concerned. There's masculine, there's feminine, positive, negative. It's not about sexuality. It's not about good or bad. It's about what that energy does and how it operates, right? So masculine is like strategy, planning, action, drive, light. Feminine is internal, receiving, subconscious, shadow, dark, intuition. So you need both of those things. But the way that shit operates is it teaches you to suppress the feminine. Men, you have a feminine quality within you as well. We all have feminine and masculine. It's the balance. We're like magnets. You have the positive, you have the negative. You have the masculine, you have the feminine. You simply do, regardless of your sexual orientation or your gender. Okay? Just throwing that out there. So in society, we're conditioned to disregard the feminine, to ignore it. You can see it just looking all around the world how women who are the embodiment of the feminine, how we are treated, how we are violated, how we are taken advantage of in this world. That is a direct mirror reflection of how we treat our intuition, because it is a part of our feminine body, but we ignore it, we disregard it, we disrespect it, we do all types of violation. And then what happens? All types of chaos and destruction in the world, because we're silencing our inner feminine, our inner voice, our intuition, our inner guidance, our inner knowing. We're silencing that. And so it comes up in other ways. So it's really up to you to decide, how do you want to receive this information? You want to receive it from yourself, or you want to receive it from circumstance? Okay. Let's see. I'm convinced Avatar was about Black people, and you see how they tried to come in and colonize. Listen, colonization is another huge reason why motherfuckers are disconnected from their intuition. Seriously. Because just think of the concept. Some other entity outside of you is imposing on you their way of being. So whatever you hold as true within yourself, your intuition, is being infringed upon, is being imposed on, is being violated and being replaced with something else. And they do it to us all the fucking time. They do it all the time. And that's why it's important to equip yourself. Matter of fact, not even equipped, because you have the tools already. Remember what tools you have and tap into it. Just like you know you have an immune system and what your immune system is for, so you need to tap into that. Know that you have an intuition. Know you have an inner guidance, so you need to tap into that. They're doing all kinds of shit around us and to us to disconnect us from our inner voice. Because you see, when everyone is tuned in to self, what does that look like? Now we're moving in alignment. Now we're moving in truth, authenticity. Imagine what that looks like if every single person in the world is tuning to their inner guidance as opposed to external guidance. Who is responsible for our external guidance? Let's think about that. Who would benefit from us disregarding our internal guidance? Who? Think about that. And you'll be able to make sense of why shit is the way that it is, and why it's your divine right and your responsibility to move differently. Even if it goes against public opinion. You see, this is where groupthink becomes a thing, where it's safer to go with the status quo, to go with what the population, the general population is doing. It's safer to do that because it's comfortable. It doesn't raise any eyebrows, raise any suspicion, right? Versus when you are tuning to yourself, you end up separating from the pack, and now all the eyes are on you. Like, why the fuck she thinks she can go over there when we going over here? It draws attention to you, and that can be uncomfortable. But think of how much more empowering it is, because now you're over there while everyone's over here, and you're being able to observe the situation for what it is and make an informed decision, as opposed to being pushed by someone else's consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you see, me as a rebel, because I am that, I do not take heed. I do not like being imposed upon, and that's why my intuition speaks to me so fucking loudly, because it's like, girl, you know you are not with this shit, so why you acting like you with it? You know? It's kind of like you had the angel and the devil, and they always tell you to pay attention to the angel, but at the end of the day, they're both a part of you. And sometimes the devil is bringing your devil representation is bringing your attention to something that needs your recognition immediately. It's like urgent, stamped urgent. Pay attention to this now. And then the angel would be the one that's like, okay, this feels good, keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you gotta pay attention to the shit that feels bad too, because there's a reason it feels bad. And what are you gonna do with that information? You know? Listen to your body. Listen to those feelings that come to you. One thing you can try as far as practice is concerned, start with something little. I use my intuition to find parking spaces all the fucking time, every day. What I mean by that, what I'll do is, like, I'll turn off the music or whatever I'm listening to and just, like I said, silence the stillness and receive. And as I'm driving, let's say I go down this block. Before I drive down the block, I'll just sit for a second, like, and it'll be like yes or no. Like, it'll feel like yes or no. Yay or nay. And let's say it feels like yay, I go down that block, boom, there's a parking spot. Or if it feels like, but then I end up going down the block anyway, now I'm circling that whole fucking block because there's nothing there. So that's like a small thing that I use as a way to practice my intuition, is to feel the things around me. Feel it. How does it feel? And then giving that thing a name. When you give something a name, you empower it. Right? So, okay, butterflies in your stomach. I'm feeling excited. Okay, excited, that's a powerful energy to feel. Why am I excited? Oh, someone just came into the room with gifts. Now I'm excited because I'm getting these great things, right? Versus, ooh, I'm feeling like shit right now. Why am I feeling like shit? I didn't drink water today. Like, different things come up. You get it leads you down a whole pathway of messages. Sometimes people think that your intuition is just supposed to tell you the answers point blank, period. But really what it does is opens up the gateway of communication to where you would find those answers. So maybe your intuition might tell you to go outside and take a walk. And then you end up taking a walk, you find money on the ground, or you run into a friend that you haven't seen in years, right? Or there might be an activity going on in the far distance, you hear music bumping, people's turning up, you're like, oh shit, it's a party over there, let me go to the party. Like, you just get led to things, or you get led away from things, and all of that is for your own protection, for your own development. It's all necessary to pay attention. Pay attention. Another way you can practice, let's say if you're a driver, for instance, like intuitive driving, where you anticipate what the other person's gonna do, and you do that just by receiving the information. You might feel it like, look, this motherfucker's about to turn right now. Boom, now they in your lane. Like little things like that. What's another little thing you can try? Wait, hold on. I'm trying to look at the chat because I see a lot of y'all are in here chatting it up. Yep, that's why I quit mine. It was one thing after another. I couldn't take it anymore. Talking about work. Yeah. Ciao. Yeah. Pay attention to how the fuck you feel wherever you go. That is like a huge piece of information that you need to digest. Okay? Like, I like to think of your intuition, your gut feeling as like, okay, let's think of it like lions, right? So, you know, you have the male lion who really just be chilling, right? And then you have the female lion, that's the one that goes and hunts and gets the food and brings it back. So think of your gut, your intuitive seat, as the female lion. It's going out, retrieving and bringing it back. And think of your brain as the male lion. So you just brought the information through your gut, you brought it, and then you send it up here to the male lion. That's the masculine energy up here, the part where you start dissecting the information, processing it, putting it into an action plan, a strategy. That's the masculine energy up here. The intuition is the feminine, and that's the one that you feel first. So that's how I look at it. Female lion is my gut, going out, getting the things. The male lion is my brain, taking the things and processing it and putting it to use. Okay, I hope that analogy helped y'all get a little visual. Yin and yang, both sides are needed. Dark and light balance, absolutely. Yes, light and dark balance is needed. I don't like the fact that dark black is associated with bad or evil. When it's not, it's mysterious, chaos, unknown, not necessarily bad or evil. Right. And there clearly we know why. There's a reason why they've associated blackness and darkness with negativity, as far as the bad concept of negativity and evil. There's a reason why. Just like I said, you see societally how the feminine energy is treated. And there's a reason why. Because if you're detached from your feminine, if you're detached from your darkness, if you're detached from your intuition, you are malleable. You can be manipulated. You can be made to do some shit that you don't want to do, but you don't have enough resistance in you to fight back. That's why they try to keep you away from yourself. And that's why I'm telling you, fuck that. Connect to yourself. Tune in to yourself. For some resources, it's like my mind is going so fast, my tongue can't even catch up. But I know in one of my last videos, I told you guys about Abraham Hicks. Someone else that I like to listen to, his name is Ralph Smart, aka Infinite Waters. If y'all know him. Breathing in that good ass prana, diving deep once again. Amazing soul. He has a way of speaking that makes things clear as well. Teal Swan is another one. These are just some additional resources you can check out on YouTube if you want more insight into your spirit and how to connect to it. Okay, let's see if there's any things in the chat. Advice on how to tell the difference between anxious thoughts and intuition. Well, sometimes it's one in the same, but I understand what you mean by that. So One thing that you can do as far as to tell the difference is to take mental note or take actual physical note of what accompanies those feelings. So let's say you're having a lot of emotions around something or feelings around something, right? Write down how you feel in that moment. I'm feeling this way. And then pay attention to what happens after that feeling. So maybe you're not in a position to act on the feeling just yet, but pay attention to what happens after. So let's say you're having a series of thoughts like, oh, these people don't fuck with me, they don't like me, they're out to get me, right? So write down, I feel that they are out to get me, or I feel this way about these people. And then pay attention to what actually happens. So maybe you end up being in a situation where they do something for you, or they actually look out for you, and you're like, okay, so that wasn't my intuition, that was my anxiety, that was my ego, that was a defense mechanism, that was a story I was creating up here. But you really want to pay attention to how you feel in your body. Your body is what's going to tell you, right? So let's say, okay, that's the example. Or you're feeling really good about a particular situation or somebody. Take note of how you feel around that person, around that situation. How do I feel in the presence of this thing? And then pay attention to what happens after that feeling. It's all about paying attention to the details. There's a space between you being stimulated with the emotion, the feeling, there's that, and then there's this quick little space in between, and then there's the reaction, the outcome. So what you're trying to do is pay attention to each phase of that thing. Meditating is a good way to like slow down and be present in each phase of that moment. So you feel the stimulants, you feel the space in between, and you feel the reaction. It's all about feeling your way through. Just like people who have like who are blind or who are deaf, for instance. Like they're missing a major sense. What do you think they're using to process everything else? Their intuition, they're feeling their way through. So in essence, you're kind of doing the same thing. Feel first, pay attention to that feeling, take note of it, and then pay attention to what happens after that. And that's a way for you to sift and sort, like, is this my intuition guiding me, or is this programming or like traumas guiding me? Okay, I hope that helps. Yeah, infinite waters diving deep once again. Yes, you know the vibes. Meditating will help you release the fear because anxiety is associated with fear. We live in a fear-based society. That's why most people have anxiety, which messes with the intuition. I say meditate and heal. Absolutely. And sometimes when you hear the idea of meditating or healing, it might seem like a lot, but really what you're doing is listening to yourself. Your body is telling you what it is that you need, but you need to hear it first. That's why I say silence, be in solitude, separate yourself from other people sometimes, and just be with yourself, because that you will receive a lot of information if you just listen to yourself. Just listen. I know it seems like overly simplified, but it really is that. What you do with the information is a whole nother ballpark. But at the very least, you want to know that you're receiving it and what that it is. So yeah. The one bad thing about having strong intuition is that you learn to notice everything about everyone, but no one notices anything about you. So you sound like an empath, that you're describing an empathetic situation. But here's the thing though. When you look at it as your superpower, because let's say you feel that you're noticing everything about everybody else, but they're not noticing it about you. That sounds to me like an intuitive message about the people who are around you. Maybe you need to give a little bit more thought about, am I even comfortable with the people who are always in my space if they can't even receive me the way I'm receiving them? These are all messages that the fact that it's bothering you, the fact that you're highly aware of that sensation is an intuitive message. And that's something that you need to sit with. and process it. So like I said, the female lion, your intuition goes and gets it and brings it back to the den. And in the den is where you process that information. Okay? Feminine, masculine. Both of them hand in hand. Let me take a sip. Shadow work helps to work through traumas, anxiety. I'm gonna have to do another video on shadow work because that's like an even more expansive conversation. But just to drop it in there right now as a tool that you can use right now, look into shadow work. What does that mean? Because your shadow is the part of yourself that's unconscious, the suppressed side of yourself, but a lot of the times it's holding the truth of who you are. A lot of pieces of who you are in the shadow, but we ignore that. So shadow work is really you digging that up and bringing it to light, bringing it to your awareness in a nutshell. But I'm gonna have to come back to another video and do that in more detail. What's it called when you can feel someone's presence or feel like, or like feeling that you're being watched? What is it called when you can feel someone's presence or feel like you're being watched? That's that sounds like you're describing exactly what we're talking about. Like it's like your spidey senses, I like to call it. Also your intuition, your instincts. You are feeling the energy. So if let's say you're feeling a presence, that's what you're saying. There is a presence around you. You're not feeling it for no reason. So if you're feeling something, it's because it is there. Like, and when I say feeling, I don't mean like, oh, in my mind I feel away. No, your body is receiving the information. That is the feeling. And if you're feeling it, it is there. Just like if you were to close your eyes, right? If I say close your eyes and imagine yourself on a beach, feeling the sand in between your toes, feeling the water brush against your feet, right? You're not literally in the beach, but you can visualize that. You can feel those sensations because it exists, right? You're tapping into that knowledge. You're just not physically there. So it's the same thing. You're feeling a presence because that presence is there. But like, cause like I got quiet because it can go in like all kind of directions. Like, are you talking about paranormal or? Cause that regardless though, if you're feeling something, it's because that presence is there and is communicating something to you. In a nutshell. Let's see. It's kind of like, you know, like insects have the antennas. So they don't necessarily have to bump into the surface to know that surface is there. Or someone who's blind, they have the walking stick. They don't necessarily have to bump into the sidewalk to know that it's there. They're feeling. You feel that essence. Everything has energy, right? So you feel it. And then your brain is making sense of what it is that you're feeling, you know? Let's see. Your sixth sense, exactly. My empathy plus strong intuition equals anxiety. Ooh, child. This is why boundaries are so friggin' important, child. And ooh, I know it's, yeah. It can be a breeding ground for anxiety, which is a label that we use, but that doesn't have to be a weakness. Your empathy, your ability to feel is a superpower. It's a strength, it's an asset, it's a tool. And a lot of people, everyone has that access, but not everyone is actually tapped in and aware of it. So you are on the more favorable side of the spectrum, the fact that you feel so intensely, because the intensity of those feelings is giving you information for you to use. And if you are feeling anxiety around something, around a person, around a concept, around a place, there is a reason for that. So dive into that reason. Your anxiety isn't necessarily for you to stay away from something. Sometimes it means investigate why I feel this way. Why am I feeling so bothered? Or do you want to sit in that feeling of being bothered? You know? So you may as well use the information that you're receiving to find some sense of clarity within yourself. you know? Okay. But I know that meditation does work for sure. Yes, absolutely. Girl, you said it. Creating boundaries is a must. I had to learn the hard way. Whew. And like, remember what I was saying earlier, like, you can listen to yourself in the intuitive feeling that you get right now, or you can allow it to come to you externally from another circumstance. And that's where it becomes a thing of boundaries, because it's like the boundaries is really to protect you as well as to establish a code of respect, like how you want to be treated, right? And when you don't have any boundaries, let's say around a certain person, and you're not listening to yourself, that person can bulldoze into your experience with their own shit because you don't have any sense of regulation. There's no barrier. When you start to tap into your intuition, you start to become very highly in tune to the energies that you're coming. So look, here's your body. You have an auric field. It's around you, right? So let's say you spread your arms out. That whole width of space is your field. So that's why you could walk into a space and you can feel things that's going on, even though you're not physically touching it. It's because your aura, your field, is receiving the information, right? And this is why, as far as boundaries are concerned, you can come into someone else's auric fields and it starts to enmesh with yours. And now you're starting to feel like, ooh, I don't like, this is feeling crazy. And you're like, is this me or is this them? Learning how to distinguish, okay, this is me, this is my field. I take ownership of my field. And that is theirs. Keep that over there. You know what I'm saying? Really what you want to do is only invite the energy in if you want it as a part of yourself, not because they are forcing it on you. And this is where tuning into your intuition is so important, because the more that you connect to that guidance, the more you're able to enforce those boundaries. So it's a lot. Like, it can be a lot to process, but it's all within your range. You have access to it. I feel my mom's emotions all the time. Ooh, child. And she gets confused every time I ask her what's wrong, but she doesn't realize when she's frustrated, I'm frustrated, laugh my ass off. But you know what? That might also mean, okay, you're feeling her emotions right now and it's disturbing to you. So maybe you need to give her space to feel how she's feeling instead of trying to help her through that feeling right now. Maybe that can contribute to some of the anxiety that you might feel from moment to moment, is because you're taking in someone else's emotions and you're trying to bring their emotions to their attention, when sometimes you need to just bring it to your own attention and realize this person is feeling this way right now. It is disturbing me and how I feel, and so me and how I feel need to go over there. It's not always about you going to fix the other person or help them. It's about you receiving the information and doing something with that for yourself. And yeah, that might seem selfish, but really it's like self-full, because you're taking care of you first. You have to do that first. Otherwise, you start taking in everyone else's shit and it gets all murked up with you and you don't know the difference anymore, you know? But it all comes with practice, honestly. Okay. Certain people's houses give me that weird as fuck feeling as soon as I walk through the door. And that is your spirit telling you that, child. Maybe y'all need to congregate outside. Maybe you don't need to be going inside of this house right now, or not for too long. Or even, let's say you end up going in the house, let's say it's a family member or something. Pay attention to what happens when you're in that space. So let's say you go into their house and you feel a way, it's like, ooh, this energy is too much, right? But you feel like you have to stay. Okay, so stay and just observe. Now you become the observer. Watch what's going on. Watch the dynamics that unfolds. Watch the kinds of, you might notice all of a sudden people are being clumsier. They're knocking shit down by accident. The arguments are happening in the room back in the back. Niggas is having beef over there. Like, you just start noticing all kinds of shit is going on. And you're like, wow, the minute I stepped foot into this place, I felt something. And now here I am seeing what it is that I was feeling. I'm getting confirmation of the feeling. That's something that you can do sometimes. Like, be mindful still, because you don't want to put yourself in danger. But like, whatever you feel, sometimes give yourself a minute to sit with it and observe what goes on around that feeling. That's a way for you to strengthen and really confirm to yourself that your intuition is right, that it was correct, because you felt it and now you're seeing it. That for the people who need like tangible evidence of their intuition, that's your evidence. I feel a way, but I'm gonna just watch. And then you watch and bullshit is taking place in front of you, and you're like, huh, so this is why I was feeling the way I was feeling. You ever gone to a party and you step foot and you're like, ooh, it feels crazy in here. And then you stay, and then what happens? Niggas is fighting over there in VIP. All of a sudden, you know, random things like that start to happen. And you're like, wow, if I would have just stayed my ass, I felt it already and I decided to stay. But don't beat yourself up about it. It's all a part of the practice. But also be mindful and be vigilant. Be careful. Protect yourself. Like, yourself is the priority. Because you can't show up and be your fullest self for anybody else if you're not here no more. So you have to preserve yourself. You have to protect yourself. You have to be mindful of how you move into spaces and the energy that you're allowing into your experience. Ask yourself, why is it that I constantly feel a way when I'm around these people, but I continue to engage with these people? Why do I do that? Ask yourself, you know? And like, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who did not listen to their intuition and they're not here with us anymore, you know? And it can be hard or uncomfortable to think about, but really think about it as a lesson to yourself. There's a reason why you feel how you feel, so listen. And even if other people don't respond in the way that you want to, right now it's not about their response. Right now it's about you. Your fucking antennas are going crazy right now. It's receiving so much and it's telling you so much. So you need to listen, or let some shit run up on you. That's really how it turns up real fast. You know? So yeah. Yes, I'm extremely protective of me. Yes, I stopped going to parties for that reason. Too much energy. And you know, yeah, I feel you on that. Me, I noticed that I have the most fun and positive exchanges in like intimate settings. Because in order to create an intimate vibe, you have to be like pretty intentional with the people you invite into that space, right? So in those kind of settings, I have the best. The worst things always happen when I don't listen. And I'm sure that everyone in here can relate. How many times have you had a feeling and it was a gut feeling that told you that something was off, but you ignored it, and then some craziness happened as a result? How many times has that happened to you? Versus how many times have you had a feeling about something being good and you continued on that path, and all types of for example, one time I went to a bar in the city with some of my friends, and you know, we're having a good time, turning up, and then I'm like, I'm hungry. Let's go take a walk. We taking a walk. We walking around Manhattan. We find this random ass deli. Like, you know what? Let's go in this deli. We go in there, catch a vibe, get our food. We sit outside the deli, start eating, and we're just vibing. It's a good time. And then some random white man comes up. He's like, yo, your vibe. It's so, look, I have this vape cartridge. Like, I was gonna go sell it, but I just want to give it to you. And I was like, oh shit, thank you. Now all of a sudden I have a vape. That was the first time I ever got a vape, is because I followed my intuition in that moment, and then it led me down a series of events that now I'm being blessed with a gift, for example. Okay. Um, wait. Every time I look for something I lost, I always initially know where it is, but I look in other places first. And that's kind of like a little exercise for yourself. Like, you know where it is, but you look other places first, right? And what do you end up finding? Nothing. The thing that you were looking for wasn't there. And then you go to the place that you initially thought of, and there it is. Or you might end up finding something else instead. And it's like, huh. So I had this feeling to look for this thing, but it wasn't really that I was looking for. I was looking for something else. Does that make sense? Like, you might think that what you're looking for is this, and when you start looking, you find something else. You know? Like, that happens to me all the time. Like, I'd be like, let's say I randomly remember a shirt. I don't even need to wear it right now, but I just remember it. I'm like, yo, where is that shit at? And I start looking for the shirt, and then all of a sudden, I'm finding letters that I didn't open. And I'm like, oh shit, let me open this. Or I'm finding like a crystal that rolled under the bed. And I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I had this. You know? Like, it starts opening you up to other things that you should have been looking for. So it's not always about, let's say your intuition brings something to your attention. It's not always about that specific thing. It's about what you need to be cultivating around that thing. So maybe you're feeling, I don't know. What's something you could feel? I want to go on a date, right? Let's say, oh, I want to go on a date. That's just a feeling that's coming up for you. And then that leads you to the thought process of looking online on Living Social or something for things that you can do. And then all of a sudden, ooh, paint and sip. Let me go to the paint and sip. Now you're at the paint and sip. Ooh, now you're meeting friends at the paint and sip. Ooh, now the friends are going out to a bar after. Now you go, like, it unfolds like that. So it's not always like the initial thought is the whole picture. It's like the first step to everything else you're about to get led to, you know? So it really can be a good ass time. Your intuition can be a fucking party for you. It really could be. It's not always about keeping you away from something or protecting you. Sometimes it's really to connect you to something, to connect you to something that you lost, a piece of yourself that you need to tap into again. All of those things. Maybe you all of a sudden you're like, damn, like, I want some Play-Doh. Randomly. All of a sudden you're getting Play-Doh, you playing with the Play-Doh, and now you have to go back to the store and buy some more Play-Doh. Boom, who you find in the aisle? Your soulmate or some random shit like that. It just works randomly like that. You have a random feeling, you act on it, and it leads you to a whole bunch of other shit. You know? I need to learn how to trust mine more. I just don't know how to tap into it. Okay, so I think you might have like come in at the tail ends. I'm trying not to make this too long. Holy shit. Because I want people to be able to come back to the replay and actually sit through it and get the information that they need. Because I've already gone through a synopsis. But yeah, I don't want to be repeating myself too much. So I'm going to let this upload so you can go back to it and check in with the things that we've said so far. Yeah, wait, hold on. One time I had a gut feeling about a party, didn't want to go, didn't go, and there was a shooting at the party and some friend had went and said it was terrifying. That's like a really wild example, but that literally be the thing. Like, sometimes it's a difference between being exposed to something like that or not. Like, you might be like, ooh, your friends want to go to a party and you just feel like, and you're like, no, I'm not gonna go. And they might try to guilt you like, girl, come on, just come out with us. Don't feed into that. If you are feeling that thing, you felt it for a reason. And they might be disappointed, but stay true to how you felt in that moment, because you might realize that some other fuckery took place, you know? I'm about to cause some Play-Doh. Yes, get you some Play-Doh. Get you some Play-Doh. I think I did. I set a reminder about YouTube. It's okay. Don't worry, Alicia. It'll be there. It'll be there. But just some quick bullet points. Silence and solitude together. Give yourself space and opportunity to be still and sit with yourself. Practice with little things. Like get an intuitive feeling. Like for instance, I didn't say this one earlier. When you're shopping for produce, for instance, and you're feeling around, vibe with it. So you pick up a fruit, you feel it, you vibe with it, you look at the colors, you feel the energy from it. If it feels good to you, take that fruit. If it doesn't, put it back, try another one. These are like little tiny practices, but it's a part of a larger practice, and it connects to other things, you know? Pay attention to how you feel, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, and pay attention to what happens after those feelings. Take a mental note of it. You can keep a little journal, I saw Infinite Waters was talking about this, an intuition journal, where every time you feel something about a situation, write down that feeling and then write down the chain of reactions that took place after that feeling. And that can give you like an indication. Every time I felt this way, these kind of things happened. That's a way for you to check in with yourself, you know? Most of the best experience in my life happened from randomly. Oh, it kind of like cut off there. But I guess you're saying it happened from random exchanges like that or something. I trusted my intuition when negotiating my pay, and it worked. Got a higher increase than expected. You better come through, Michelle. I celebrate you. Congratulations. Congratulations. That is lit. You see, look at that. Blessing you. Sometimes you listen to your intuition, but then you tell someone and they don't believe you. I'm glad you said that, because, yeah, that's something that happens a lot. That'll steer you away from your intuition because of how people respond to you. And a lot of the times ladies experience this in relationship, where you have a feeling and then you bring it to your partner and they shut it down. They're like, how you gonna tell me that this is this? Your intuition. They like try to make you feel crazy for feeling how you feel. Meanwhile, what you were feeling is the thing that is happening. You know what I'm saying? So one thing I would say about that is to be very protective of your intuition as well. If you, let's say you have an intuitive feeling about someone, right? And then you want to share it with them. How does the thought of sharing it with them feel in your body? Because a lot of the times you will feel uncomfortable, but then you share it anyway, and then you get a bad reaction and you're like, my intuition, is it right or wrong? No, it was right. It told you to keep that shit to yourself. You didn't listen though. You know? Or you might feel safe. Let's say the idea of sharing it feels at ease. Maybe it feels neutral. Maybe it feels calm to your spirit. So you share it with them, and then they give you a positive reaction. And you're like, oh, okay, I feel good about that. But your intuition is really for you. It's for your guidance, for your clarity, for you to find what direction to take. It's not necessarily about getting other people on board with you, because that's the quickest way to get distracted and convinced away from your intuition, is when you try to invite other people into the party with you. And trust me, like I've had that happen too, where I'm like, I'm feeling this thing and it might come up to me and I'm like, maybe you can tell them. But then I sit with it a little bit, like, how do I feel about telling them? And it just doesn't feel good in that moment. I'm like, you know what? Now is not the time. Maybe later, but right now, no. And it's a no for right now. And then you revisit it later, see how you feel, check in with yourself later. How does it feel? Does it still feel crazy to talk to this person about this thing? And then if it feels crazy to talk to someone about how you're feeling, and every time you think about it, it feels bad to you, that's another thing that your intuition is guiding you to. Okay, why am I unable to speak my truth to this person? Very uncomfortable conversation to have with yourself, but it needs to be had because there's a reason why. I had a situation with a friendship, a best friendship even, and our whole shit disintegrated, okay? Exploded. Why? Because I went against my intuition. Remember I said every time I go against my intuition, some fuckery happens. I was in a situation with a friend. We were talking about moving in together, long story short. And when she presented it to me, initially it felt like no. That was my initial reaction. But because she was my close friend, best friends even, and I wanted it to be a good idea, I wanted it to work. Look at this little piece of fur. So I went through, I like embarked on that journey, or at least started that journey with her. And then later on, my intuition just kept telling me over and over, like, this isn't a good idea. And just different things started to come up to confirm that feeling for me. And then eventually I came to her like, I've been feeling this way, and I feel like it'll be best for me to take this path instead. What happened? A huge blowout, huge argument, huge just explosion of emotions. And then our friendship literally crumbled after that. And I was like, yo, this is why I felt that way from the beginning. Because I knew that something was going to happen on the other side of it. Didn't know what it would be, but I knew something was going to happen, and something did happen. And instead, I could have had that thing happen sooner if I had just said no from the beginning. But I kind of delayed that reaction, and it became an even bigger reaction because I ignored my first minds and went against myself, and then continued down that path. And it created a huge situation, and that is what came as the confirmation to not go down that path no further. So sometimes that might happen where you lose relationships or people who you thought were super close to you, just off the strength of you following an intuitive feeling. And don't let that be the reason that you clam up and you decide not to follow your intuition no more. You needed to feel that way. You needed to experience that loss, that disconnection, because it was guiding you into something better, into a better space for you. So, like I said earlier, learn to find comfort in the discomfort. There's a reason why. Always a reason why. All right? Honestly. When it comes to intuition, manifestation, things like that, it's a good practice to keep it to yourself until it comes to fruition, because talking to others can cause doubt. That's a fact. It's just like with planting a seed, right? Or even a caterpillar in a cocoon. There's a period of darkness, of solitude, right? And if you were to interrupt the cocoon, the chrysalis phase, you damage that butterfly's life journey after that. Now it's not able to build or strengthen its wings to break free out of the cocoon and be strong enough to fly, right? Because it was interfered with. It needs that moment of solitude, of darkness, of silence, so that it can form into the wholeness of itself and then into the world. You plant a seed, it's darkness, it's solitude first, and it has to stay there and then germinate and grow. And then it comes to the light and is now visible to everybody else. Now you can share it with everyone else. But in that initial phase, keep it to yourself. Keep it tight. Keep it tight to yourself. Eventually you'll get to a place where you don't even really care too much, because you're so sure in your intuition that it's like a sword. It's like a knife just cutting through the bullshit. But until you're at that space, keep certain shit to yourself, okay? Keep it. Because you do not want anyone to convince you that what you're feeling is wrong or inappropriate or whatever. Because that's how you start internalizing that something's wrong with your intuition, and that's not the case. It just means they didn't need to receive you just then. You gave them something that they didn't need to receive just then. You know what I'm saying? Sammy, did you take the... No, girl, I didn't. I haven't taken it, child. Because apparently they rank how strong your intuition is based on your type. I haven't taken it. But I remember that you told me about it, darling. I remember. So hard when you lose people. Whew, truth teller, you ain't never lied. It is very hard to lose somebody especially if you lose them as a result of you like stepping into what feels right to you. It can feel like a major rejection. It's like, damn, here I am trying to be my fullest self, and it led to our relationship being severed. Like, whoa, nah. But then you start to think about it, and it's like in that relationship example with the friends, right? After our friendship ended and everything, I started really reflecting on the whole timeline of our relationship. And I was like, there were actually many times that my intuition came up to let me know that something was wrong, but I ignored it because I wanted to keep the friendship. And every time I ignored it, something would happen between us. So in retrospect, you're able to see a lot of those things clearly, but really you want to get to a point where you don't have to wait until after the facts. Like, you receive the message now and you act on that message now. That's the goals, because your intuition is literally guiding you every step of the way, always. Ah, man. Love that analogy. Go ahead and speak a word. Yes, y'all. You don't need to be talking to that person. Come through, Psalms. That is a fact. That is a fact. All right. Wait, hold on. Okay, I think that's it for the comments. If I missed your comment, I apologize for that. I'm not catching everything at the same time. Let's see. It's your inner compass. Absolutely. And that's so true. When I first started on this path, I talked to some family about it, and they were all behind my back calling me an atheist and crazy, but luckily I trust myself and my ancestors. Whew. And that's a perfect example, Sayuni, of why, you know, certain things you want to keep it close to your chest, keep it to yourself, at least in the beginning phases, because it's very easy for people to plant seeds of doubt into what you're doing, and then you internalize that, and now you're walking around carrying these labels that they put on you, all because you wanted to express yourself in that moment. Sometimes it's not worth all of that, and that's why I say get a journal, because you're not gonna violate yourself like that. If you consult with yourself first, that's how you get clear on what it is you're feeling and why. So that whenever you do feel confident enough to share it with somebody else, you are 10 toes down on it. They can't really push you off your route, off your center, because you are clear. If you feel uncertain or unclear or uncomfortable, don't bring it to them just yet. Sit with it a little bit longer. Because it can hurt. It can really hurt your feelings. Like, damn, I'm not allowed to ask questions without y'all calling me an atheist. Like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can feel away. It really can. But fortunately, you know, another thing about your intuition is when you're moving in that path, you align with people who are on your same wavelength. So you might lose connections to people who you really wanted to keep in your life, and you thought this was going to be a lifetime thing or whatever. You lose that, but you also guide yourself to this group of people, and these are the people who is your tribe. These are the ones who are going to receive you in all your forms, not just the pretty ones that they only like to see, you know? So it can be painful to let go of your connections with people, but it can also be very uplifting and empowering too. It's an evolution. It's like this, back to the butterfly. It's like how when you're when you become the butterfly, all the other caterpillars are like, you changed. And it's like, hell yeah, bitch. Of course I changed. You want me to stay the same forever? You want me to be a caterpillar forever? You don't want me to fly and spread my wings and really blossom? Be careful of people who tell you that you changed. Because it's like, why do you want me to stay the same? Why are you comfortable staying the same? Change is the only constant. So if someone is telling you that it's a problem that you're changing, it's like, really think about, like, damn, so when it comes to me and this person, I'm not allowed to be anything else but this? Huh. Interesting. I left my friend group because they constantly messing up my emotions, and when I left, my self-love skyrocketed. That's right, Daydream. You better stand up. I was told by my father not to call God universe. I keep certain understanding to myself, you see? And that's another thing, because it's like, then it becomes a thing where now you're trying to convince somebody else that what you feeling is that's the thing about intuition that's tricky, right? Because you feel it very strongly, then you somebody else and they tell you some next shit, and now you spend the rest of the conversation trying to convince them of your truth, when you could have just not said nothing to them at all and know within yourself what feels right to you and make it like I've made some decisions where I felt an intuitive pull towards it, but I did it before I went and told my mom or before I went and told my dad or whatever the case, because I know that's another thing. Your intuition is going to tell you how people will receive you as well. You know, you know before you tell them if they're going to receive it well or not, right? So there are certain things that I did first and then I told them after. Like, by the way, I enrolled in XYZ program. It starts tomorrow. As opposed to, I've been thinking about doing this thing, because that leaves room for them to now start attacking your whole shit. And it's like, oh my God. And that's not to say that you're supposed to completely ignore, you know, people who are trying to come through with constructive criticism. But back to why it's important to strengthen your intuition, that's also you strengthening your discernment, determining if they're actually trying to come to you with assistance and help, or if they're trying to tear you down or remove your sense of self or convince you to do something that doesn't feel right to you. Like, there's a difference. And in order for you to tell that difference, you got to be able to feel it within yourself first, you know? Ciao. Do I feel like God is universe too? Literally, it is all that. That's the thing that's unfortunate, that people be confused by the words. Like, all of these words are just categories that we put things in to make shit make sense to us. We made all these words up. God, if you were to go to the actual essence, it's not going to be like, yeah, my name is God. We gave it that name. That's why in the Bible it says, I am. Because it's literally, I am whatever I say I am. Not whatever you say I am. God, universe, multiverse, source, Jah, Allah, all of them things is all different words for the same concept. So there's that too. Yeah, I gave up on trying to convince people about what I was doing. They were only committed to misunderstanding me, and that's not my business. I do what resonates with me. And when you do that, you teach people what it looks like to move in a path that is true to you. You teach people what it looks like to listen to your intuition, because you're literally just doing it instead of trying to get them on board. You just do it, and then it works out. Because remember what I said. When you follow your intuition, it leads you down this pathway of all of these useful, amazing experiences. Imagine if you wasted your time trying to get people on board before you open the door to all those experiences. You're missing out on a lot. So sometimes you need to just do it. Just go for it and do it and be the example. And they're going to be looking at you like, oh, wow. You got that amazing job. Oh my goodness, look at that nice house that you just manifested into your life, or whatever the case may be. Oh wow, you just took a trip. That's so cool. Now they're so amazed. They're like, wow, you're amazing. You're so cool. Like, your goals. And it's like, I'm literally goals to you because I'm showing you what it looks like to just follow your intuition and not follow what other people are telling me. That's why I'm goals to you. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are looking for. They want to be sure within themselves. But we're so used to relying on external validation before we make a decision that so many people disconnect from themselves. So when they see you living in your truest self and your essence, It's like amazing, it's inspiring to them, but you're really inspiring them to hear themselves, not to be like you. So, just dropping that in there. Yes, we are all one, all connected. Yes. I knew I wanted to do writing as a career, but kept putting it off because when I told my mom, she felt it wouldn't be sustainable enough. And I keep going back and forth with that career, but doesn't feel right. Oh my gosh, that is such a common experience. I had it too. It's like you bring it to somebody else and they just shit on it, basically, in essence. They're like, no, it's not gonna work. And then you walk away with that. And now all of your decisions are coming from that no that they gave you versus the yes that you gave yourself. So like I said, you can get your guidance from yourself or you can let somebody else run up on you. Which one resonates more with your with your spirit? And man, I'm just thinking about all the people who are no longer here with us, who got themselves into a situation that they could have avoided if they just listened to their intuition, bruh. Like, oh my God, this is a little dark. But I have like, okay, so my dad, I have my sister, and his baby mom's has a son, so it's like stepbrother vibes for me. So he's like my stepbrother. He had a friend that recently, like not too long ago, passed away, was shot, right? Because there was a party going on and he was telling his mom, he's like, man, I don't feel like going to this shit. I don't feel like it. And he's like, I'm gonna just go. Then he went, and literally as he stepped through the door, he got shot because a fight started to break out in the party and they started shooting. And as soon as he stepped into the building, one of the bullets hit him. And now he's no longer here. And he had the feeling before he left the house. And literally an hour later, he was gone. Just to give you like a dark but relevant example of how significant that shit is. Don't disregard your intuition. It's here for a reason. It be telling you, it be putting you on. You know? So rest in peace to him and all the others who are out there who didn't get to experience the fullness of their life because they didn't listen to themselves first, you know? You don't want to be that person. You want to be the one who hears yourself. You're like, heard you, received. And this is a message for myself too. It's for all of us right now. Like, listen to your intuition. It's here to guide you for a reason. It's guiding you to what is for you. And it's guiding you away from what is not for you. Okay. This live is something else. Shaking my head. That really could have been me. Like, what the F? What's going on here for? Yeah. Wow. So how do you listen to yourself without feeling guilty of what others say? Ooh. I know. How do you listen to yourself without feeling guilty? Well, first thing I would suggest is to deliberate with yourself before you present it to somebody else. So when you really, let's say you have an intuitive feeling and you write it down and you really process it, like you go through what I'm feeling and why. When you go through that process, you become very clear. That's how you fine tune, right? So even if other people are trying to guilt you out of whatever decision that you're trying to make, remind yourself of your why. They're not always going to understand, and it does feel uncomfortable. And guilt is something that can live in the body, so you want to be really mindful of taking it on. Like, I feel like guilt is reserved for you're reflecting on something that you did and you aren't proud of that action that you took, so you want to take better actions moving forward. I feel like that's how guilt serves you. But some people will use it to try to control how you move and make you move in alignment with them. That's where you disregard the guilt. Sometimes you kind of be like an asshole about it. Like, I'm not taking on the guilt. Like that's a boundary. I am not taking on someone else forcing guilt upon me because I am being true to myself. So long as you're moving from a place of truth within yourself, the guilt that other people try to impose on you, realize that that is their business that they're projecting onto you. And you have a choice in whether or not you accept it as your truth or not. And if it doesn't feel good, like if it, once again, your intuition, if it's disturbing your center, is disturbing your peace, your intuition, that means it isn't for you. It is theirs. So keep that barrier, that boundary. Like, this feels wild to me, so that's telling me that I need to remove myself from this conversation, remove myself from this situation, take a break from these people for a second so I can recalibrate and tune back in with myself. It's kind of like when you charge up, like you go to sleep and you're charging and then you go into the world, right? Because when you go into the world from a place of rest and you're revitalized, you're energized, then you're able to deal with what comes to you. When you tune into yourself, you check in with your intuition first, you can step into the world knowing what your base is. So anything else that comes and is trying to contradict with your intuition, you're more protective of yourself because you know you did the work. You know that you consulted with yourself first. You know that your intuition is here to guide you. You know that that is true. If nothing else, you know that much. So you start becoming like an observer. Like, you observe yourself moving through the world. You observe how people react to you, and you decide, am I okay with being around people who are going to reject me for being the truth of who I am? Woo! Is it raining? It looked like it started raining. All right. I love my lock so much. Oh, you better come through with the lock, love. Do you think intuition can be distorted by experience, or doubt in our intuition is developed by experience? Your intuition can absolutely be distorted. It can be, which is why we were saying earlier, like, to be mindful of what you're consuming, because once again, your intuition is your gut. Your gut carries millions of brain cells, and that is what's communicating with your brain. So keeping your gut clean and healthy, feeding yourself with foods, with information, with experiences that are good, that are energizing, that are cleansing for you, so that you're having the most accurate relationship with your intuition, and it's not clouded and fogged up by heaviness that's not supposed to be there. You're like clearing that energy out. So you need recommended fasting. That's like a way to reset your body and like literally clear that energy out, you know? But yeah, this is why I was saying to pay attention to how you feel and what happens after the feeling, because that's how you can determine, is this my intuition guiding me, or is this my ego protecting me? Or is this like something that I made up in my mind, you know? Like, that happens too. But now I'm getting to a point where I'm repeating everything I've already said. So I'm gonna like tap out here and let this upload. This is a long one. But I thank you all for joining in with me in this conversation. I hope that whoever comes to this live during and after receives some gems for your head top that you can use, some tools that you can use in life and moving forward. I will do another follow-up conversation about shadow work and what that looks like. Okay? But until then, I love you all. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to see what people have to say about this conversation. And I will tune in next week. I'm trying to end the live. Okay.